All right, so we're here today working in the shop here. So got a bunch of this BMR suspension stuff that we want to get to. Just finished up doing the quick install there on the front chassis brace. I'll link that into a different video there. But so today we're going to tackle some of the IRS stuff I want to get to tackle some of the wheel hop problems that we have. My car doesn't seem too bad. I don't know if it's tires or whatever road type. I don't know what it is. It does, but it's not too bad. But going to be adding some more power to the car and that kind of stuff very soon. So we want it to be best as possible. No one likes wheel hop and I guess hard on the axles and that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's have a quick look here. All right, so here we go on the bench. So yeah, we got the BMR, the rear IRS parts. Obviously we got some vertical links, and we're going to do the diff bushings here as well. So let's go ahead and basically let's just get started underneath this thing. So if this is your first time seeing any one of my videos, just a quick recap here on the rest of the stuff on my car. So currently we have some MBRP long tube headers, mid pipes, and the H pipe obviously, and we got the race cap back in the black version. All my rear suspension is essentially stock. We got some jacking rails obviously already installed, and the video I just completed, we got the front chassis brace here. So but today we are tackling rear suspension. So I got it up here obviously on the hoist. First thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and let's remove obviously both of the wheels and yeah, basically get going. So let's get the camera set up. All right, so just like we have on the computer there, the BMR kit. So we have those right here. So the one thing I want to talk about right off the bat was the fact that this bushing kit is the non-relief. I was actually unaware that they even came as a non-relief. I just assumed they were backwards in the picture or whatever it is. I didn't even realize. I've installed a couple of these Steeda kits or whatever it is that do have the reliefs for the bushings. If you're not sure what that means, I'm going to point that out in just a second. So here we have the complete kit. We got some bolts, some spacers, washers, everything we need to complete that install. All right, so here we are underneath the back of the car. Let's have a quick look up underneath. So obviously we got the differential there. These are the first two rear bolts for the lockout. So basically what we're going to see up in here is we got the rubber, these little rubber bumps or whatever you want to call them. They're right there, there's three on that one, and this one here has two, one there and one there. So on other kits, the bushings have a little notch in the back of the bushing, so when that goes on there, it sort of pushes around them. I guess with the BMR kit, they're not using that. I guess it tends not to be that big of a problem. This is pretty soft. It seems to, like, when I push my finger in it pretty much kind of pushes away. So yeah, I guess it's not the end of the world. So we'll just go ahead and start without that. So we are going to end up by lowering the subframe down right off the bat. Doing the front bolts up here. Let me just put this down here. All right, so basically now we're looking up here, looking up at the front bushings, or the front bolts there. So obviously what happens here is we end up by needing to put a bolt up into this gap, and obviously with the gas tank here, that is not going to happen. So we're going to want to lower the subframe down just to gain some access on basically on both sides. There's the other one, and same thing. We have no access here as well. So we're going to want to support this. If you're on the ground, you're going to want to get obviously some jack stands and get it all set up and get that going. So for me, I'm just going to quickly loosen off the exhaust here, and we'll get it going. All right, so got the back of the exhaust there unbolted, just to have it a little bit loose so it can come down if we lower the subframe. I don't know, it might not even be important. So all the bolts that we're talking about, obviously this is the one subframe, and the other opposing one's obviously over here, and we got the two rear diff bushings, or differential bolt, diff bolts basically. Yeah, so anyways, what we're going to want to start by doing is we're going to loosen the subframe bolts in the rear and bring the subframe down a little bit. I have it already lightly supported, so we're going to quickly just loosen these bolts off. We're not going to take them right out. but you know, if you take one out just to see the length of it, see how much play you got, it's okay. Oh, that's going the wrong way. Let's go the other way. So as you can see, you got quite a bit of space there. So it came out. I'm just gonna put it back in, you know, enough threads that it would be strong. Looks like I got probably about 1 inch worth there. All right, so got that down. Then what that allows here, just gives us a little bit of access room so this bolt can come out on both sides. So we got some 18 mils here, and we're just gonna do one of these at a time. Okay, so we got that bolt removed. We end up by putting the, taking the longest bolt, lock washer, this big spacer, and we're gonna take this, take the bushing, and obviously just gonna insert that in there. You can go ahead and grease that. I got a little bit of silicone spray, so I'm just gonna spray it around there, spray it around the bushing. You can use rubber grease, you know, a few other things that I'm sure that'll lubricate it just fine. If you don't have anything, I don't even think that's the end of the world. Just go ahead and get it on there. I am going to put a little bit of blue thread locker on the bolt, and we'll just go ahead and insert that up there and get the bolt and just get it finger started there and make sure it's going in and not cross threaded, obviously, and mine's going in just fine. So we'll go ahead and get that snugged down, not tightened yet. All right, so for now I'm just going to go ahead and snug this bolt down, get it in all the way, and then basically it looks like pretty much all the bolts, everything, the diff bolts and the cradle bolts, everything gets snugged down to 129 foot-pounds. So these rear ones, you can torque them, the cradle bolts, you can torque them, but those front two differential bolts, I'm not sure how there's no room. You got to get those with a wrench. So, I mean, you know, just tighten them down and I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine. So, okay, so I went ahead, finished that one off, same thing, same procedure here. Got the bushing, the washer, the lock, got that in, and we're gonna go ahead and torque these down to 129 foot-pounds. All right, that's good. And there we go, got them both. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just going to tighten the subframe bolts back up. We would torque those to 129. I am gonna be doing a few other things, so I'm gonna leave those partially loose. I might even actually just leave those kind of loose where they are right now. Just make sure they're somewhat secure, because we're going to need quite a bit of room for the front as much as possible. So there, those are slightly more in, but still definitely not up. So we're gonna go ahead now and remove these front bolts right here for the subframe. There is two 13s on either side, so you want to go ahead and get those removed as well. So now we're going to go ahead and focus on the front. So we're going to end up by wanting to lower this down. So you can go ahead and remove these 13s on both the brackets on the left and the right side right off the bat. That won't matter. Quickly before we unbolt this, if you wanted to have this secure, now would be a good time to try to undo your front, the front diff bolts, actually, which you can't quite see. I'm slightly off camera here, just because it's it's still bolted in and secure. So let's go ahead and here I'll just turn this a little bit. Oh, you still can't quite see. So yeah, I was just saying, if you wanted to just crack these bolts now before we loosen it off, that would be a good time just to go ahead and undo those. So I'm going to go ahead and just crack those loose before we go forward. All right, so let's go ahead here and just slightly lower this down. You don't want to quite go all the way, but as much as we possibly can. Because we're going to end up by needing more room than than we have up front there. Okay, so going on the front here, had a little bit of a tricky time on this one side. It looks like the driver's side on my car will be a little bit harder than the passenger side. I've done this before and it was a little more easy. This one I had struggled just a tiny little bit more on fitment. So as you can see, I got the front bolt right out and I have it like hanging right down basically as far as I can. I mean, we got, almost, 3 inches or whatever you want to call it there. So what the real problem here, obviously, like we were saying before, is this gap. So this is basically metal right here. And as you can see, that doesn't quite fit past. And then once you're trying to get the bushing and the washer and everything on there, you can't really get an angle to it. So kind of pried it back a little bit, and the tank shield does have a little bit of give, so you can kind of push into it a little bit, with a little bit of a pry bar. And then it slipped past. So once I got it past, then I got it finger tight here, and we're gonna go ahead and tighten that in. So basically gonna go ahead and carry that over right into this other side. This one here, it looks like this shouldn't be really a problem at all. I still have the main bolt in it, but this should just go straight in, no problems. Okay, so we got this bolt in here and we're gonna go ahead and start tightening it down. We got 22 millimeter, and we're gonna go ahead, basically we got the bolts assembly for the front here, and we'll get that started. It's still nicely lined up. So we'll go ahead basically and get these both tightened down. Now, like I said, this one here, I don't have a way of torquing this one. I'm just gonna put it down tight. And this one here, we're gonna get that to 129 foot-pounds as well. Okay, so I didn't really film the last of the install there. I feel like I was giving a pretty good explanation. So obviously we went through the rear, got those installed. This driver's side one, we got this, fought in there, got those both in, torqued and tightened, good to go. The passenger side one right up in here, we were able to get that one pretty easily, like when it was hanging down like I showed there. That one wasn't really a fight to get in there at all, so that was no big deal. And same thing, I got the bolt in there and both tightened up, no big deal. And then same thing with lifting up the subframe. We got those, we got these installed there, and we got that bolt right there tightened back up, 129 foot-pounds, and we got those tightened back in. I can't remember the spec on those. Maybe I'll just add it in as a, when I edit it in there, I'll add in how much it was. But yeah, no big deal. Got those all tightened up, and away we go. So unfortunately today I am out of time. I got, that's all I got, and I never got to finish off all my mods, but I got definitely a few things here. On the next one, we're going to finish off with the vertical links here. So we'll get those vertical links done there, and the kit, the IRS bracing kit. So thanks, guys.